What is up, Fight fans? I am Jason Burgos. I am joined by a man who is looking to help you realize what you have always been missing: professional slap fighting. On March 20 on FITE TV pay-per-view, he will be promoting a monumental slap fighting event under his Slapstrike banner known as the War from Warsaw, which will feature 16-man one-night tournament featuring some of the biggest names in this ever-growing industry, and that is the Slapstrike CEO Glenn Pere. Glenn, thank you so much for the time to educate me and others on this sport so many of us have seen on our social feeds, but maybe don't fully understand.
Jason, thanks for having us.
Now,
really appreciate it.
Bunch of questions, so many things. So I am like many who have seen, like I said, the clips on social, kind of, seen this sport, fascinated by sport, but maybe don't know too much about it. Don't know it's a professional industry, has leagues and all this kind of stuff. So give me and the folks that watch, that listen to this, like a streamlined primer of what the sport is all about before they tune in to War from Warsaw. So is it something that got big first in Europe? Is it more global than we realize? Does it go back a long way like bare knuckle fighting, or not really? Is it more new? And also, what was your kind of journey that gravitated you to this very unique sport?
Thanks. Yeah, that's a great intro and really good questions. It's simple. My kids were watching Russian slap fighting on YouTube maybe, I don't know, 3 months ago. And I was stunned that it was getting hundreds of millions of views a month. Stunning. In Russia and throughout Europe. And I'm saying, like, well, is that done yet in the United States? And it hasn't been. And I'm saying, well, what do we do to get that here to the United States? What do we need to do? We have UFC, we have boxing, we have wrestling, we have all the combat sports, we have probably dozens of leagues for each sport. Who needs to bring in another boxing event or a UFC event or a wrestling event? I'm saying, well, here you go. It's a quick, decisive sport. There's 3 slaps. Each person gets alternate slaps. And you can either win by a TKO, a KO, or a decision. And it's one of the most compelling things that I've seen in sport today. It's what the new generation wants. Does the new generation want to continually invest their time in a fight card of MMA or a PPV event of boxing or whatever it might be, and spend 45 minutes on a fight, or obviously in UFC, it's 25 minutes. Each event is probably close to, I don't know, 8-9 minutes, and you get either a KO, which could be stunning, a TKO, which is stunning, and it's all great entertainment. One of the guys that are fighting on Saturday on our card is a guy named Vasily Dumpling Kamotsky. And he is an internet superstar, where he garners him alone, probably close to 60 to 70 million video views. Wow. Throughout Russia and Europe. And he's fighting on the card. He's known as the world slap fighting champion, to the point that Dana White, maybe a year ago, pointed it out that, hey, you know something? These guys slapped can I curse?
Yeah, sure.
These guys slapped the shit out of each other, and I want to get them on UFC Fight Pass. And we're all for that. And Dana, give me a buzz. You want Dumpling? You want any of these guys? They're under contract now with Slapstrike and with our partners in Poland, Punchdown. And we're ready to go. We are getting great response for this event that we're putting on, and we couldn't be happier about it. It's going to be something that people are going to want to see. No different than in the beginning of UFC. It was a train wreck. People would watch it like this, like, I can't watch it, but I have to watch it.
Yeah.
And, Joe Rogan, he's a naysayer. He was talking about, like, hey, can you believe it? Can you believe it? Can you believe it? But he started it off by saying he woke up one morning and he turned it on. He was watching it for an hour. It's one of those things that will grow in popularity. It is a stunning sight to see. These guys are mammoth. They're 300 pounds. They're 6'4". Some are carved out of stone and some don't have a muscle on their whole body. But nonetheless, they're bringing it. They're passionate about it. And I couldn't be happier to be distributing it worldwide on FITE TV on Saturday at 2 p.m.
Now, I'm glad you brought up Vasily and you brought up the size too, because as a person, coming from an MMA journalism background, into combat sports for a long time, I'm used to like fans to weight classes and stuff like that. But I've seen the videos of like some of these Russian slap competitions, and the sizes can vary. And Vasily, like you mentioned, he's supposed to be 6'3", near 400 pounds. Like, does size matter in this kind of sport? Is that why maybe bigger men gravitate towards it? Or is there a technique element to it? Or is that there just that God-given gift to slap the shit out of someone? Like, what are the elements that really make a star? Does it take size?
What's funny that you said, first of all, slap the shit. One of our investors in the company, CT Fletcher, 6-time powerlifting champ, he coined the phrase "one slap and a nap." And, kudos to CT. I didn't know that he was a poet. He's too strong to even make fun of him. But so, yeah, size somewhat does matter. We try to, make the weight classes the same. It happens to be that most guys are super heavyweights. So it's all even. When we bring this to the United States, and we are bringing it to the United States, we're in the middle now of, right on the heels of War from Warsaw this Saturday. We're starting a promotion. It's going to be the U.S. versus Russia in the World Team Slap Fight Championships. Right. And the name of that event is called Arms Race 1. And we're promoting it as if it's since Rocky met Drago in 1985, this is the #1 Russia-USA sporting event that you must see. It is going to be stunning. There's a lot of excitement building around that as well. But right now, Jason, we're really promoting and working on the final touches of Saturday's show, and it's going to be fantastic. You got to tune in. We have Dumpling at the top. He's he's the first fight. It is a bracket tournament. So as you go further on into the tournament, you're going to see these guys. Dumpling will probably make it to the finals against the Polish champion, Zalis. A guy carved out of stone. He won the event a year ago, and it's going to be a stunning, stunning match. If those two guys get to the finals, and we're hoping for it, that's what we're going to be rooting for. We also signed recently the U.S. slap fighting champ, a gentleman by the name of the Crazy Hawaiian. He's undefeated. He's 5-0. He too is 6'3" and around 370. We signed him just last week. He's going to be fighting on our card going forward. He is our #1 recruit, and we'll be building the Slapstrike brand throughout the United States around the Crazy Hawaiian. He's that type of a figure. All right. He's going to be in the same category as a Conor McGregor is to UFC. The Crazy Hawaiian is going to be the slap fighting. And I do think with the interest that we're generating and from the influencers that are out there that want to get on board, we have a really strong story to tell, and we're going to tell it. And it's quite compelling to you'll be seeing it live. Never been live before. You'll be seeing Dumpling, this internet sensation, 6'3", 375 pounds, and as our tagline says, we're turning heads. So we're on it, and we're excited to bring it to FITE TV. And I know that FITE TV is also very excited to be showing it on Saturday. So we're psyched. We're really psyched.
To have it on a brand like FITE TV is a big deal, and it's going to bring a lot of attention. It's going to bring some first timers that are watching it and stuff like that. So when I was curious on like guidelines for the duels, stuff like that. When there isn't a knockout, which is an obvious a duel winner, it mentioned in like the press release I saw that it's decided by a judge. Explain to me how that works. Is it just one judge? Is it several judges? And what are the guidelines of slapping that makes one better than the others? What decides and leans a decision from one competitor to another?
Well, okay, so it's judged by two judges. If it goes the distance, it's going to be judged by the two judges. But I can tell you this. Recent history says that it's either a TKO or a KO. Okay. These guys bring it. You got to have the mental fortitude. The first guy let me go back to what the rules are. Okay, so the order gets decided by a coin toss. Most of the time, if not always, the winner goes first because it's a big advantage, obviously. You must keep your feet shoulder distance apart. You cannot walk. You cannot step. It must be an open palm to the cheek. If it hits the ear, the throat, the neck, the eye, the nose, it's a penalty. So if it's deemed a penalty, the judge at that point, depending on how flagrant that penalty is, after the third slap, he might go back and give the guy not the guy that did the strike, but the guy that accepted the blow, he gets a free slap back. It's a big penalty. It's a really big penalty.
So it's scored on the whole. It's scored on the whole. It's not like, rounds, like, first slaps 10-9. It's scored on the whole.
It's scored on the entirety of it. The effect of the strike, the power of the strike, and that's it. But as I said, Jason, I would say that 70%, 80% of these fights end in a knockout. And that's what today's audience wants to know. This is quick. It's decisive. You got millennials, you got Gen Zers watching this, you got younger people that don't want to sit in front of a TV and wait for that knockout.
Yeah, very true.
On any slap, it's a knockout. So it's an exciting sport. It's an exciting phenomenon. When we were doing our research about bringing this to the United States, we looked at the viewership in Russia and in Europe, and it's like, I'm looking at, I'm seeing 70 million views, 80 million views. On a single video, it could be 30 million views. How could we not bring this to the United States audience that are rabid fans for combat sports? Listen, there's 4 or 5 boxing associations, countless UFC, MMA style events, wrestling events. You could turn on any channel, any time, and watch UFC, MMA, Bellator, WWE, PBC, Professional Boxing Champions, Top Rank, ESPN, blah, 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 blah. But you can't see this, and we're bringing it to you. And here's another thing that I find of interest. ESPN, the #1 sports entertainment network on air today. I was watching it last week, and I'm not making this up, Jason. I watched, or could have watched, I didn't, 10 hours of cornhole throwing. Followed by, I'm not done, Jason, 10 hours of cornhole throwing, followed by 8 hours of axe throwing league, and then followed by an hour or 2 of pickleball. And I'm saying, like, we are starved for a new sport that people could sink their teeth into. And we're not only building it for that reason, we're taking a page out of Vince McMahon's playbook or wrestling from the earlier days. We're building our brand around personalities. If a person, and we're getting flooded with people that want to compete, but if the people that are contacting us want to compete, and there's not a backstory that there's interest in what they're all about, then we don't need them. We want to go back to the 70s of wrestling with Chief Jay Strongbow and Ernie Ladd and those guys. We got guys like coming on to us like the Crazy Hawaiian, Dumpling, in talks with the Hulk, Wolverine. We're building stories around our fighters so that there are people that the viewers could learn and root for and respect what they're all about. It is a stunning thing that we're building. And what I'm most proud to say is that we're the first to market. And not only are we the first to market, but we're also building our barriers to entry by signing the very best talent that people are going to want to invest their time in seeing. So we're very proud of what we're doing. There are naysayers out there that say, oh, it's a little goofy, it's a little dumb. Look, you know what I think is dumb? I think that in a UFC fight that a guy could clearly be out on his back and the guy's on top of him taking his elbow and trying to crack the guy's eye socket until he could finally tap out. You know what I think is silly? That you could stand in a boxing in a boxing match and you can go toe to toe and take 20 to 30 blows to the skull or to the brain area. That's 20 to 30 in a round, in a 3-minute round of a 12-round fight. I think it's goofy and silly that in a wrestling event, WWE, that a 6'8" guy could pick up another 6'8" guy and drop him on his head. What are we talking about here? We're talking about 3 open slaps to the cheek. It's exhilarating. It's great to see. No one's gotten hurt yet, and we're hoping that no one gets hurt. And the odds are, if it hasn't happened yet, it's not going to happen. And we're just ready to put on a really compelling show for our viewers. Really looking forward to it.
I'm glad you brought up those certain things and the knockouts and like what you see in boxing and the damage, because I've seen the videos too when it comes to this sport and people getting knocked out cold and they getting concussed and stuff like that. Is there any kind of protocols in place? Because we learn more and more as the years go by about brain damage and CTE and contact sports, and this is as contact, this dangerous straight hit to the head and stuff like that. Are there any protocols? Like, if someone's knocked out cold, all the way concussed, is there an idea? Look, you're not going to compete for the next month. We're going to give you a concussion test. Just to avoid the PR, the bad PR that can come from these things.
Good question, Jason. All that stuff is in place. There's concussion protocols. So yes, we have that in place. Also, we have 2 doctors and an ambulance at the site in Poland where the event is live. And when we bring it to the United States, we're in the middle of getting sanctioned right now in Wyoming. That's all part of the sanctioning body that we'll have to answer questions to. So there'll be, all sorts of rules and ramifications put into effect before anybody steps up to take on an event.
What are like the winnings for competitors in this? Like, what are winnings for a punch down tournament, future Slapstrike events? Because you mentioned Dumpling has a contract. Is it about you got to win the tournament and you get the money? Is it about kind of like golf? There's tiered paying wherever you finish in the event. You get paid that way. Is it contracted? A guy like Dumpling is making a set pay just based off of that? Or, like, how lucrative can being a competitive slap fighter be for people?
It's a fantastic question. So in the event in Poland, the winner gets it's American dollars. It's $10,000. Mm-hmm. They're competing in, I believe, to get to the finals and win. I think it's 3 rounds. 16, 8, 4, 2. You have to win 4 rounds to win. I can tell you what we're doing here in the United States with Slapstrike. And when we are hiring our talent, what we're doing is we understand the value of any brand, entertainment brand that the talent, it's about the talent that's in front of the camera. Right. So everyone that we sign is going to get a 1% ownership in Slapstrike. Everybody that we sign. Wow. If that person is fighting on a pay-per-view event, he's going to get a share of the pay-per-view revenue.
Okay, wow.
There will be, again, in terms of this, there'll be pension plans for all of our fighters, again, depending on time vested. So we're not looking to just take guys and throw them in the ring or in the table, as we call it, take it to the table. So there's let's get ready to rumble. Yeah. There's blah, 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 blah. Ours is take it to the table.
All right.
Anybody that's going to compete for Slapstrike, anybody that's going to compete for Slapstrike, and they're part of our family and they're part of our team, they're going to enjoy in the revenue from any pay-per-view event that we generate income from.
Pay-per-view, especially MMA, boxing, even WWE before they went to the network, they're so expensive. They're crazy expensive now. So $14.99 is a big number, and that's part of why I think BKFC has caught on, because their pricing for their pay-per-views are much more reasonable. Is there a hope, an expectation buys number you're going for? Is there a big wishes number you're also hoping for when it comes to the buys on FITE TV?
Well, we have two. We felt that $14.99 for a first time event ever, where we have to educate the consumer. We have to educate the viewer to what we're presenting to them, the offering that we're giving. What we're doing, though, is the pre-show is going to be Punchdown 2's event. And it's going to be able to show you exactly what you're going to be getting. By the way, we also have great, great commentators. I forgot to tell you about that. Matt Stryker and Vampiro. Matt is world-class, and Vamp, who I'm now proud to call a brother of mine that we've been collaborating for the last 2-3 weeks on this, is going to bring an event that it's not only going to be the fantastic action that you're going to be seeing. The way that these guys are going to bring it to you is going to be something special and probably a show unto itself. Vamp is a 28-time World Wrestling champ, and He's one of the more colorful personalities that you'll see on TV. Truly spectacular, and just two wonderful, wonderful guys. And they're going to bring you the action. And you know, I just can't wait to see how they react to some of this stuff, because it's going to be mind blowing. It's going to be mind blowing.
Now, one of the matchups on the card I was reading about is supposed to be a matchup between two TV personalities from Poland. Logan Paul was almost close to being in a slap fight in Russia with I believe Vasily and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is there a goal to like eventually have celebrity fights with names American audiences would be familiar with, like what Triller is doing with these celebrity fights and the Logan brothers? You know, I mean the Paul brothers.
Yes.
Is that something that's being thought about?
Well, we had another great question, Jason. This is all part of our strategy going forward. We're looking to put on the most compelling matches that there are. As far as, yes, in our match on, one of the matches on Saturday are two YouTubers from Poland. I'd like to tell you their name, but I couldn't pronounce it. I couldn't pronounce it if it was spelled in front of me. So I can't tell you that. But from what I understand, it's going to be quite compelling. And then we have two women. Again, two social media people that are high-level social media people in Poland. As far as Logan Paul, from what I understand, he called out Vasily and then backed out because he was afraid he was going to hurt somebody. I got news for you. Nobody is hurting Vasily. He's a tank, okay? You talk about strategy and you talk about technique. There is huge technique. There's huge technique. And Vasily has it. Logan Paul didn't back out because he was afraid he was going to hurt somebody. I think Logan Paul backed out because it wouldn't have been a good ending. It just wouldn't have been a good ending.